Hi, it's Shola here from Speak Up Like a Diva, Speak Up and Shine. I'm a public speaking coach and I'm based in London with clients all over the world. And I'm asking you this question today. So, you want to be a motivational speaker? Do you? Well, what I want to talk about is one way to get started, because a lot of people do want to be motivational speakers, and it's an exciting thing, isn't it? Being able to get in front of an audience, whip them up into a frenzy and change their lives. But to be the next Les Brown or the next Tony Robbins takes a bit of strategy and a bit of work. And I'd like to suggest that if you aren't sure how to get started, a really good place to try out some of your motivational tools and techniques and tips is in front of children at school. And the reason I say that is because kids are a wonderful audience. They don't pretend. If you're not gripping them, if you're not keeping them entertained and interested, they can't but show it. They'll be shifting around or, won't be paying attention, right? And also there are many schools out there, and there are many kids out there that could really do with hearing a motivational message. Maybe they're facing a really tough home life. Maybe life is tough for them at school. It could be that your message is enough to really change the trajectory of their lives. So don't discount speaking to children and to schools, to kids, youth groups, as a way to get started with your motivational speaking. Now, as I mentioned, kids can be a tough audience, and that's a good thing. And they can have a really interesting mix of being cynical and also being very earnest and very open at the same time. And I recall when I first started speaking, because I used to be a school teacher, I thought, well, the best way for me to get going with a speaking career is really to start with schools, because I have that leverage. I already have the credentials as somebody who was in the education system for a number of years, somebody who has got all the checks done and all the rest of it, and won a teaching award way back when. So that's where I began. And I remember I went to see the motivational speaker, Les Brown. If you haven't heard of him, go check him out. He's amazing. I went to see him in London, and the next week I was speaking to an audience of sixth formers. These are kids who are 16 to 18 years old, and I was talking to them about careers and about, in particular, my career path, where I went in one direction, very corporate, consultant, and then switched, became an entertainer, a performer, a singer, and now a speaker. And when I went to see Les Brown is amazing, very interactive speaker, very inspiring, motivational, high energy. And one of the things that he had the audience do was interact with each other. So he'd make a point and then he'd say, right, turn to your partner, high five them, tell them they can do this. And this auditorium of 1,000 adults were obediently and enjoying at the same time. They were doing this exercise. Yeah, hey, how you doing? You got this. We're going to do this together, right? So all this stuff was going on. It's quite American, but it does lift the energy, and everyone was feeling happy and inspired and motivated. So I thought, I could do a bit of that when I go and speak to these sixth formers. So I wasn't lifting any of Les's proprietary material. I'm sure that many another speaker has said, hey, high five your neighbour. So I thought, well, why don't I do that with the kids? So I went along to this school and was talking to these sixth formers, and I'd make a point and I'd say, right, turn to your neighbour, high five them and say, yeah, I can do that. And, most of them, they, what kids are like, they're all a bit like, oh, okay, oh, do I have to? Oh, I can do that. And most of them participated. And at the end of the talk, I asked them to give me some feedback. So I gave them little slips and asked them to, put some feedback on the slips for me. And it was quite funny because one of the kids said, oh, I didn't like doing that exercise. It was really babyish. Okay. Now, that really struck me as quite funny because Les Brown had 1,000+ people doing it, all adults doing it happily. And then here we have a teenager that doesn't want to. And I think one of the challenges with kids is, as adults, we've got so many responsibilities on our shoulders, right? Life can be heavy and serious. So we enjoy getting in front of a speaker who makes us laugh or who makes us do silly things like high five each other. Because we remember what it's like to be young and hopeful and lively and all those things, right? And it sort of transports us back to our youth. Whereas with kids are often desperate to be seen as older and serious and having lots of gravitas and to be taken seriously. And so, as a speaker, speaking in front of children, you've got to, or, young adults even, you've got to strike that balance between understanding that they're youthful and they've got their whole lives ahead of them, but also that they are desperate to be mature and to be seen as mature and to be taken seriously. So that was one insight that I had from speaking to kids. And there's not a huge amount of time to share more, but I do challenge you, if you want to be a motivational speaker, speaking in schools is a wonderful, wonderful place to start. And even as your career starts to take off as a speaker, why not keep going back, staying, keeping those skills sharp, going back to schools, speaking to schools, see how those kids respond to your material. Because another great point to take away from speaking to kids is that you might be pitching your material using long words, being too complex. And typically, we want to be speaking in using language that, perhaps a teenager or somebody, who's a sort of 10, 12-year-old can understand. So if you're somebody who, obviously if you're doing a technical presentation, it's a different thing. But if you're somebody who likes to use long words or, very sort of complex phrasing, then speaking to kids, if you see them looking like, what? That could be a good way to try out your material and make sure that it's really easy, really palatable, very quick and easy for people to absorb. Because if you want people to keep up with you while you're speaking, you need to make sure that you pitch the information at a level that's very easy to take in. Anyway, that's enough from me. But if you want to be a motivational speaker, why not start by speaking to young people, young adults, children? It's a really brilliant place to start. Now, I'm no Les Brown, I'm no Mel Robbins, but if you are interested in getting your career started off as a speaker, or indeed using speaking to grow your business, then feel free to book a session with me. I've got my 6-week Speaking Success, which is a really great program to help you become an all-rounder at speaking and get those skills in place. If you don't have a lot of time to join live speaking clubs and you just want all that information and then get out there and use it in the real world, 6 weeks to Speaking Success is a brilliant place to start. And then with that information you can get out there knowing that you've got all the boxes checked and it's all about responding to your audience. Or alternatively, if you want to speak for business to get more clients, then I've got Get Clients with Speaking. So if you want to find out more about either of those, feel free to drop me an email. The information is here in this website as well. So take a look. Maybe you want to have a power call with me to see if Get Clients with Speaking is right for you. But if you want to be a motivational speaker, then consider talking to kids. Take care.